bit later. For now, we're going to be moving on to the last series of the day, and it is going to be Pathra versus tom60229. Pathra on the left, Tom on the right. Cool post in the background as well. But we have Tom shielding the priest and Pathra shielding the warrior with the priest ban. So here's another one of those like interesting points of warrior being valued over priest because of the lineup of the Holy Wrath Paladin and the Zoo, you could argue.
First of all, I will just say Pathra looks a bit like a pineapple. Haha, because she has
because of the other poster in the background? Okay, yeah. I was looking at the one on the left, but yeah, okay.
Now on to the serious points. Yeah, for Tom, it's just business as usual. Shielding that priest, which he's done pretty much since he started bringing it week after week. He has a lot of faith in how powerful it is. Pathra on the other side, shielding her warrior. Pathra has been a very interesting, has had a very interesting approach to the lineup deck building, because generally she's gone with fairly standard decks, I think it's fair to say. Usually the four or five best decks, I think, a lot of the time. But she does, in my opinion, have a very different approach to shielding and banning that a lot of other players go for, which, you know, clearly so far has not worked out fantastically for her. But at the same time, I can always understand her decision-making behind it. It always feels like there's a strong reason, even if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and Pathra, I know, is a player who enjoys a lot of the preparation that goes into Hearthstone and everything sort of outside the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
Even with the recent HGG announcement, I saw comments from a lot of the players, and one of the things that came up from Pathra was, oh, you know, she's looking forward to it because one thing she enjoyed about previous HGG was the team approach to the preparation, like being able to prep with a group of people for whatever format it may be, but just prepping for a Hearthstone tournament in general, and I think she deems that as one of her strengths as well.
I would deem that absolutely as one of her strengths. I think she's been one of the best preparers in all of Asia Pacific so far. We've seen other players like Tyler saying, you know, they worked with her, which I think was kind of code at the time for he was basically just copying her deck lists with maybe a little bit of input because she was putting more effort into it, preparing more. It really feels like the point where Pathra has fallen down a little bit has just been when it actually gets into game. And even then, it doesn't even feel like her theory is off. It's just she's struggling with nerves maybe, or
execution overall.
Yeah, there's that little spark missing in her gameplay, but if she can get that down, she will absolutely be a formidable competitor.
Yeah, whereas Tom, on the other hand, obviously, you know, a very well-known player, and I feel like he's probably as far away from Pathra's style as possible. I feel like Tom could not play I'm not saying he has, by the way, but could not play the game for a year, turn up to a tournament, and if you just gave him decks that were decent, he'd probably play pretty well.
Yes.
Because I feel like he's one of the most instinctual players of the game. I don't think he particularly over-prepares for anything. I think he more just goes, I like these decks. I'm going to rock up and play. And he rocks up and plays pretty well.
He does.
Even with a few middling weeks the past few weeks. He's still 8-5. That's still a really good score considering he's had a couple of weeks that have seemed a bit mediocre. So it just goes to show that, you know, nothing is right and wrong in terms of how you play the game. But with Tom's the problem is, with all the preparing in the world, if your execution isn't on point, you will lose games of Hearthstone at this level. Whereas Tom, although maybe bringing the same lineup over and over again, if he plays it really well, on average, he will win more games of Hearthstone.
That's right.
Let's go into the matchup, though. Priest on the bottom, tom60229. Pathra on the top with the warrior.
Yeah, it's the eternal decision that you're making here as the warrior, where it's basically like looking into murky waters as to what the priest can do. Do you play the rover on one? If they have cleric, you don't want it in play. You want to just kind of like pull it back. But if they don't have it, of course, it can be nice to kill off live wardens, just contest something, any of the other minions that come down early on. If you get snip snap, it's obviously ridiculous.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the caveat to all of those decisions about what your opponent might have is if you have snip snap, you play on one every single time.
Yes,
you play it and then just try and land that snip snap because that is an insane turn.
Tom here with a incredibly minion light hand, which generally is a bad thing, I think, against warrior. But it's it's a weird dynamic where like the minions are it feels like the cannons, whereas the spells like Divine Spirit and Inner Fire are the actual ammunition. That's what really finishes the opponent off. But obviously if you don't have anything to fire it out of, it doesn't do anything, it's just sitting around. And also your opponent's running around trying to destroy all your cannons at the same time.
I thought you were going a different direction there.
Really?
And you were just going to call spells balls. Which would have made sense, cannonballs, right?
Yeah.
It's just you went for the ammunition. But I was going to say the minions are the cannons and the spells are the balls.
I will say, I finished reading the Count of Monte Cristo recently, and they call bullets balls in that, and it is unbelievably off-putting trying to read through these dramatic sequences where people are being shot or whatever, and it literally describes it as balls flying everywhere.
Yeah, might not bother with that one. Most importantly, though, I want to bring this one back to is the cleric being at 1-5 with 2 divine spirits.
Oh, yeah.
It's honestly, for Tom, one in a fire away from a good time, isn't it? Because this is a matchup where I think you just 100% make one big minion and say, well, if you don't have, like, a plague available, you probably just die.
Tom is going for the full-on glass cannon approach here, where if this big thing sticks, he wins. If it doesn't, he's probably losing. That was until he drew the Nephset Ritualist here, which is insane. This is the god draw here for Tom. This entire starting hand was ridiculous.
There's the Hecklebot now, and it's going to be Hecklebot into Bronsamdi. I can feel this in my bones. No, Tom doesn't run Bronsamdi.
Oh, no, wait.
Genius!
Patra's got the tech down. Oh, I can't look. It's going to be Amit. I guess that's okay, actually, because she's got the Brawl. Yeah. As long as she doesn't die, having the Brawl is probably good enough. But the problem is...
Blade Master off the top.
Yeah.
Oh my god! In a fire? Oh, I was just waiting for, like, the absolute filth.
So what are we looking at now? Like, trade with the...
4, 5, 6... Yeah, everything but the Cleric and the Warden.
Yes.
To do the 8, you get the most damage on. You lose the... Maybe.
Could trade with the Cleric as well.
First,
just to draw an extra card.
And then circle.
Like that. I would take +2 damage and a card.
You draw 3 cards total, and 2, 4, 6. 6. So 11.
Oh, is he voluntarily trading in the Light Warden?
No,
he's going for just silence
and push like Omega damage.
Okay.
Wait, does this set up lethal? If you got Topsy?
If you got Topsy, I think very possibly yes.
Yeah, because there's 11 double Divine Spirit would go to what? 28?
Is he going for the opposing heal? Why not just play Regenerate first? Like, I would take the chance. Okay, whatever.
I'm just going deep. I guess, honestly, leaving it alive doesn't really change much, apart from Pathra might win a Brawl, but I think I like the damage.
Yeah.
It has to be Brawl, and it almost has to be a 1 Brawl. Look at the threats.
It doesn't have to be Brawl now. With the pickup of Restless Mummy, Pathra can... Oh, sorry, with the Ziliax as well, actually. Now that you've seen Silence, do you actually just go Ziliax here? He goes to 10 health.
Tom's running 2.
Okay, he's got 2 silences in the deck. Well, in that case, then, do you go Restless Mummy...
boop, boop, boop.
Boop, 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 yeah.
So you end up with a Hecklebot on 6 health? Not too bad.
Okay, I guess it's probably just Brawl, and you've got to use the other cards to clean up afterwards. Okay.
That was the, like, best bad outcome. Oh, that's just getting...
No, it wasn't.
Oh, Priest.
Disgusting.
You're taking this game, and Tom is going 1-0 up. And honestly, although it might look a little bit weird, I actually thought Tom's play was very, very good that game. It looks weird to just not kill a Hecklebot that you can easily kill and to just overheal and do that. But he drew most of his deck knowing that he pretty much needs an Inner Fire and a minion to stick, and he wins the game. So honestly, from that point, and the biggest thing was, regardless of the outcome, Tom did a relatively long and weird turn and didn't burn rope away. So you know what?
Yeah.
You're taking extra points for that. He just played the turn. He
Yeah.
just did it, which I think is one of Tom's strengths, whether you like his stylistic choices or approach to the game or not.
Yeah.
He makes plays and he does them He doesn't, mess around with the rope, miss turns, does things suboptimally.
Yeah,
he just says, "This is what I want to do." There you go, done.
I think we're looking at like minor optimizations there, like maybe using the regenerate instead of a hero power there at the end. But like you said, I would much rather he does a good enough turn than mess things up with the rope, as we've seen players time and time again go for. He knew it was likely enough, good enough to very likely win him the game.
Yeah, like I said, he just needed one minion to stick with having double Divine Spirit in his hand so early. One minion and an Inner Fire, and everything changed around. Yep. Tom leading versus Pathra 1-0. We're going to go to a quick break before we find out how this series continues. We'll be right back.
We've created a new home for all things Hearthstone Esports for both desktop and mobile users. From the homepage, you can find the latest articles, scores, and VODs. And from the navigation bar, you can find so much more. Here's how it works. Under the Grandmasters tab, you can view competitor profiles. Here you can see a player's top classes, recent decks, and watch their most recent series. You can also access the standings from this tab to help you understand where each player is in terms of playoff contention or relegation. On the schedule page, you can check the dates and times for every part of the Hearthstone Masters program. This includes the full calendar of Masters qualifiers, Masters Tour event pages, and the weekly schedule for Hearthstone Grandmasters. Looking to try your hand at the decks the pros are using? Simply click the eye on a Grandmasters match to see submitted deck lists. From here, hit the purple Copy Deck Code button and open Hearthstone to your collection. Then, create a new deck and simply answer the Create from Clipboard prompt in the affirmative. Finally, the News tab will show you Hearthstone Esports news exclusively. Dive into interviews with your favorite players and check back every so often to see what you've missed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the tavern.
We're back and we're already one game into the last match of the day on this Saturday. One day before we finally decide who is going to make that top four. It's going to be Pathra versus tom60229. Tom currently leading 1-0. Pathra going to be queuing in the Warrior, and Tom going to be on this Paladin. So just yet another, I feel like as we come to the end of Grandmasters Season 2, it's turned into like a signature matchup, and one that I feel the players had a very short time to really learn the intricacies of.
And I feel like a lot of players have not really done so. There's been quite a few misplays, I think, in the matchup. I would have to guess that Pathra, by shielding her Warrior, this matchup was really the linchpin that she based her strategy around in doing so. Because clearly up against the Zoo, she's thinking, okay, Warrior against Zoo, I like the matchup. She feels like she's in a good spot there. Against Priest, it's as good as a matchup as you're going to get. Against Priest, I think it's fair to say, despite the fact that she took the loss there. Banning the Druid away, and then leaving herself with Warrior up against Paladin. The interesting tech inclusion, I think, might swing her slightly into feeling more in the lead, is the 2 Hecklebots that she has in the deck. Because you have to remember that in this matchup, it doesn't need to hit exactly Shivala to get a win. If you snipe out either of the 2 bankers, you're basically looking at a win. It becomes very, very difficult for the Paladin to win at that point. And she also has the other very important inclusion in 2 weapons projects. All things considered, I think Pathra, of all the players who have gone for this matchup, has the highest chance of winning it with this Warrior.
Let's see how it plays out. Mulligan-wise, what are you looking for as Warrior here? Because the Mulligan always feels a little bit weird, because nothing the Paladin does early game really requires anything specific. So what is Pathra looking for? Card draw to get to all these, armor generation, weapon breakers?
I guess so. Like, I would take any 1-drop 100%. Keep shield block. I don't even know.
It's a weird mulligan, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit weird. I think, like, if you can find any cards that get you dominating board control, then you absolutely go for that. Like, Snip Snap here would be the best card for her, I think, to just make sure she locks out the board 100%. Because you have to bear in mind, while Warrior is obviously the king of early game board control, Paladin can stick a board and get in a little bit of damage, which is where things go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think at the start of the day, we've seen people survive or die because of a difference of like 5 health. And if your minions chip for 5 damage that they didn't necessarily have to chip for, that's the difference between winning or losing this game.
And because of that, I really like this play from Pathra. Warpath is a not useless card in the matchup, a very weak card in the matchup, I think it's fair to say. And being able to get 2 activations out of an Eternian Rover, you were saying it can come down to a swing of 4 health. There it is.
It's like what we saw from, or didn't see from Surrender yesterday.
It is
when
like
he
that,
could have gained armor and didn't. And also, if you want, a note of how close the games can get, look at Flurry's match today, Druid versus Paladin. He was literally on 1 health and survived by 1 multiple times. Insane.
Whoa, the draw starting to come together though now.
And that's a big one.
It's still okay, right? He can still do the combo. Okay,
yes, as long as the Chevale's on 0, he's fine.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't... Oh no, he's got 2 Holy Wraths in hand, and there's no spells that cost 6. So yeah, he's all good.
The worst outcome... it's impossible for it to be bad, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh no, wait, sorry. It could have been Shivala swapping with Holy Wrath, but that's disaster time either way.
Yeah. And that's something that I think influences decisions on whether you lens.
Yes.
But with double Holy Wrath in hand, obviously impossible.
No doubt. In this game. Yeah. Yep. And for Tom, this has gone from a pretty reasonable to mediocre hand to a good hand. Very, very good hand. His draw is not going to be stopping anytime soon, I don't think. And as soon as he finds second banker and Shivala, he's definitely not in an auto-win scenario, but he's in a pretty decent spot. Yeah.
I think I like Dynamatic this turn. Just get it dead. Kill it off.
Yeah.
Hold on to the coin. Follow up with our Megadillo. Keep it simple. Don't let anything hit face.
Yeah.
Basically, is again my
philosophy.
I've not played this matchup tons. It's not a matchup I have any desire to play a lot, to be completely honest. But if I was the Warrior, my approach would be you don't hit me in the face with any minion in this game.
Yeah, it's like a couple of things that kind of work at odds with each other, because one half of the philosophy is just press hero power every turn. The other one is deny all minions from going face. You often can't do both at the same time. They work at odds with each other. And I think when they bump up against each other, you have to choose hero power or clear the minion there. Definitely I prefer the Dynamatic there.
Me too. Because the second you clear it that turn, you might not clear it the turn after. And it's done 2 damage,
negated.
so minimum, it's done, you've netted 0.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just kill them and you have a minion on board, you have a minion and they did 0. So
big draw now for Tom. 2 bankers, Shivala in hand. no disruption can be made now for Pathra with the Hecklebot. If anything, Hecklebot is something that Tom will welcome from this point onwards.
Right, thin the
because
deck.
it thins the deck out, exactly.
I
Unless it hits
that's
Zephyrus.
one, yeah.
But now he's got Zephyrus as well, so
What
even
a
that's
god.
not a bad thing. Does he care about overdrawing at this point? The one thing it gives is information to Pathra.
Small thing, though. Can't do the big turn with Zephyrus now because it's 3 mana.
That's true.
Needed to be
Yeah.
2 to get the Soulfire.
He can get up to
Lightning
26 to go for Moonfire, which is not nothing, but I think, like you said, that is a pretty big deal, and likely that means he goes for... Oh, no, wait, not Tyrion anymore. Does it still offer Tyrion?
It would if he was on, I guess, 0 mana it might offer.
Yeah.
You know, like if it was on like 1 mana empty board, I think it offers Tyrion sometimes.
I'm actually curious, if he was at turn 10 and you play a 3 mana Zephyrus on an empty board, would it still just offer Tyrion? Does it favour it that highly? What's the best 7 mana card it would give you? Like, what does Zephyrus tend to
Would
give
it
us?
ever
7?
offer Antinida?
Maybe. I'm not actually sure. I mean, I'm thinking like
Well, let's find out. Let's go on this
Assassin. What's the 7/5 stealth called?
Ravenhold.
Ravenholt Assassin. Like that wouldn't
remember that
be
one.
bad. Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Interesting though, it is. It is going to shape the game though because
Big
you
time.
can't do a standard damage combo.
Big time.
Now though, I'll face your acolyte of pain down with my own. We're going to draw cards, guys.
Zephyrus already active though.
I mean, there's only 8 cards left. Tom, a cool 10 cards ahead of Pathra's
God.
card. It's filthy, isn't
His
it?
draw engine is absolutely disgusting. It's turn 8, man. He's got 8 cards
what
left
was
in
the
the
other
deck.
card Paladin gained?
In Subdue, in Saviors of Uldum.
No, in the new set.
Oh, sorry, Mysterious Challenger and Avenge.
Oh, it's yeah, I'm definitely playing this. I forgot Avenge was
Avenge
the
was
second
nuts,
one.
dude.
Avenge is just a good
was
card.
crazy good.
Yeah.
What is it? +3/+2?
2, yeah.
That's nuts.
Yep.
For 1 mana. That off Bellringer? Oh. Go ring some bells.
That? Oh, Mysterious Challenger? Oh. I will say as well, just in case people are listening and wondering, that Zephyrus will not discover any of the new cards that are coming
Yes.
back, as they are classed as a new breed of card called event cards, which means Zephyrus only pulls from Basic and Classic, and they are not in Basic or Classic.
Another PSA for any order lullers amongst you in chat. Tom does not want to overdraw here. It wouldn't even been that bad if he had overdrawn. Maybe that was actually order lull from Tom, because I was going to say at first he wants it to be at 1 health so it doesn't overdraw. But then I'm thinking, he's got everything he needs to win the game in hand. If Pathra goes for a deliberate overdraw, is kind of baited into it, then it just draws him more cards and gets him closer to his win condition.
It does, and
I think
again,
that was actually slight order lull.
we can talk about quality of card.
Yeah, right.
My question is, if Tom was like, I'll draw 1 million cards and not care, and then Pathra makes a massive board that he can't answer because he
Yes.
doesn't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
equality, he doesn't have shrink ray.
That's fair.
Is that like a weird way to actually lose?
Maybe. Maybe.
I don't know, because it depends, one, exactly what Tom's cards are left, but also, is it just something that is a bit fancy? It depends how much Tom thinks he has this game tied up.
We'll go with order forehead instead of order lull.
Okay.
It's not
Order
quite that
thinking.
laughable. Yeah.
It's going to be a beefy alcohol now.
That's the kind of heckler where if you're on stage, you just let it go. You just ignore them.
Yeah.
You're not going to start a
Just
fight
like-
with that hecklebot.
Idiot. What did you say?
Nothing.
Huh?
Nice bolts.
Yes. Ziliak's being buffed, a big deal though. Heckler into Ziliak's. If there's a minion left attackable, which there is, in the form of at least the banker, means that Pathra will be able to heal up for, what's that, 10?
Yeah.
1 turn?
That's
Like-
a lot. That's a lot.
And again, a part of me was wondering why Pathra was holding on to Hecklebot, because I think the idea of Hecklebot grabbing something has to be long gone by now, right?
I think it's a pretty big long
I
shot,
think
yeah.
it's very much a turn 4 play if possible, because you was likely to hit anything, right? You know, I don't think the odds change because it's from deck, not from hand.
The thing that you have to be careful of, though, is that if you're going for Hecklebot Ziliax, that pretty much eats your entire turn unless you're looking at Shield Slam, but Shivala would have eaten up all your armor anyway when it comes down right for the 25 damage.
In almost all circumstances.
Pretty much every case, for the sake of this argument. In which case, if you have an empty board and Shivala comes down with Divine Shield, you cannot rush in to kill it off because it still has the Divine Shield, which means the second Shivalas can rush in and kill off your big minion, and then you have to tank the 7 damage from Shivala, which is where things get very, very messy.
Right. Yeah, it would be high
If you
health,
see
though,
that.
right? So it wouldn't die to it one
It would be at
Shivala
14 health exactly.
hit. Yeah. Right, but there's only... Then none of the Shivalas got face, because there's only 2.
Well, there'd be 3 altogether, right? Because you play one, shuffle it in,
Oh,
play
okay,
another
sure,
one.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a pretty niche scenario, but it's
Yeah.
the kind of thing that Pathra needs to start
Well,
heavily considering.
Hekabot's been played now anyway, so that's kind of out the window.
Exactly, yeah. A non-germane discussion anymore.
Funnily enough, Patra's on 53 health.
With a Ziliax and another weapons project in hand.
And a boom.
And a boom, and Zephyrus gone, she may just get there. This may just not
This
even
is like
worry
one of the
about
few
Hecklebot
games
nonsense.
where it's like...
It's just not even close.
Oh, you just... Wait,
got that.
hang on a minute, that's not fair. You got more armor than damage I can do.
Well, that'll be the reason why, right? True Silver almost bottom card in the deck. At this point, usually, the Paladin's done 8 to face.
And look at this. Like, is there any way he can get through this? Oh.
Conk?
Trade equality swing.
Oi, oi, oi.
But he needs to connect.
Yeah.
I think he uses equality this turn.
Oh,
Just-
having to trade first sucks.
It does, but you get 4 damage through.
Yeah.
And then the weapon can probably go through again.
Do you equip True Silver because the game's not going to last that much longer?
Won't it?
I don't know.
I think you want every point of damage you
Yeah,
can get
you're
right now.
probably right. Yeah, I guess at such
But
high health,
I-
you can take a few ticks
Yeah,
of
I
fatigue.
think he has to make this Black Knight hit the noggin.
I agree.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it feels bad, but this is already 4 damage, and if Patra trades into it herself, that's 8 damage, so suddenly the armor doesn't look unsurmountable. But Tom looks like he is equipping the True Silver, and okay.
His mana is eaten up for the next 2 turns, at least.
Oh, and there's a shield block.
A lot of armor gain now available for Patra. The problem is, though, of course, that it's not just the damage from the Holy Rat, it's the 3 Shivalas themselves that she's going to be staring down that she needs to fight an answer for. Which is not necessarily the hardest thing in the world, but it's not the easiest thing in the world either.
The old Shivala Trident tactic works pretty well. Mainly versus aggro, but if they live, they live.
Be quite the trident with 3 tigers and 1 on each prong.
Imagine that. I've got a sword. Check this trident out. It's like, whoa, okay.
Well above the threshold now of necessary damage to close out the game, with Patra going for the second weapons project to just eat up the True Silver. Obviously another reason why Tom maybe should have held it back there. So it really does feel to me like, with now, even if you factor in the 6 damage that comes off the weapon, the 50 damage from Shivalas, it's still short. Tom has to find a way to connect face with minions on this turn. That's his only win
there you go,
condition.
Saviour. Novice Engineer got this. I'll do it. 1 damage to face. 1 damage to face.
I find that unlikely, but possible.
I'm out of cards.
Oh yeah, this is all going to the bed.
Cheval's like, boss, I can't hit him in the face. I'm trying.
Not
Right,
that
fine.
attitude, you can't.
Kill the snip snap then. God. No equality, no way to punch through these taunts.
And then being 3 6s is less than perfect, of course, because the 2 more Shivalas could snipe off 1 each, and then the remaining Shivala on board could go face. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we are lining up for a brawl here for Patra. Even in the disaster outcome where Shivala survives, it's not over because she has Ziliax, right? She would definitely not want to use that, but it's a possibility. I think brawl is the play here.
Oh,
You just 100% tank the 7 if you play this. You just die, actually, if you play the 3-6. You just die. Yes. This is the play.
So is it forced Ziliax then? If the Cheval are lit?
Yes.
Okay.
You cross that bridge when you come to it, I think, honestly. Because if the 2 Tomb Wardens came down, she would have been at 33 health there, right? Because hero power as well. Chevala would have connected face for 7 and the 9. Yeah, it was just game.
Well.
So she found the line. She found the line.
Is this definitely wrapped up?
No, not at all.
Okay.
This is the line to survive the turn for Pathra.
There's just lines all over this game.
If she can kill off both of these Chevalas, then she's obviously sitting pretty.
So is this a brawl again, or is that too risky? A brawl into Ziliax with 0 attacks?
Ziliax, yeah. I don't know at this point. This is where it gets very complicated.
It
Because
has
there's
to
also
be,
a
right?
consecration in hand.
It has to be, because the 3/6 dies to the 2/2, the weapon swing and the consecrate. One of them. So it has to be brawl into Ziliax. Surely.
Yes.
Or
It does.
No, that won't work.
What if she goes, swings in with the weapon into the 2/2? No, then she still just died to a 7/7. Yeah. Tomb Warden is not a play.
So it has to be brawl into Ziliax and almost into. Oh, the Ziliax actually being on higher than 2 health is a very big deal right
big
now.
deal,
That's
yeah.
like actually game breaking.
Especially as 2, maybe 3 swings into it is like 10, 15 health.
I don't think this is. No, this is guaranteed dead.
No.
Guaranteed dead. Unless am I crazy? Am I wrong, Derek?
No, you're not.
It's guaranteed.
Yeah.
It had to be brawl
Yeah.
into Ziliax and then hopefully.
Oh no, wait. Goes for the swing here.
It doesn't matter, does it?
No, attack, consecration swing.
Yeah, like
it's game.
either
It's
way,
just game.
the numbers add up so perfectly
Yeah.
that any sequence works. And that is going to be it.
Oh.
Pathra takes a loss to Tom 2-0. It had to be a risky brawl.
Yeah.
That still might not have done it, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't 100% loss there. But Tom takes it, 2-0, goes up to a 9-5 score. A very impressive run so far for Tom.
Yeah, very, very impressive indeed. And it does mean big implications for first seed. Group A, we obviously have first place. Well, coming into the weekend, we had first place and relegation already secured.
Tied up.
Exactly, yeah. But in Division B, Glory took the win earlier on, and now Tom is also taking a win after losing his first match to Alu Timu. But now, at 9 wins for Tom, I believe, that is him done with his run through the round-robin portion of Grandmasters Season 2. Glory, I believe, is playing tomorrow up against Pathra as well, actually, interestingly, in the first match of the day. So if Glory can take the win over Pathra as well as Tom, that will mean that Glory is locked in 10 wins, first seed.
Oh, it's still the fact
So
that
exciting.
it's still all up in the air to
Yeah.
a large extent, and that all the players, or at least a chunk of the players, still have a decent chance at getting in. It's all weighed on the outcomes, and as we said, and I'll just remind you one more time, tomorrow we'll have a much more literally match by match breakdown of what happens and almost live updates on how the scores and tiebreakers affect things. So we'll do that for you tomorrow. A bit too many variables to do yesterday and today. We don't want to just break our minds. We've got standings ready for you guys though to see where everything lies as of now. As you said, Glory rocking the top there, 9-4. He's got a match tomorrow. But Tom at 9-5, Dawn 8-5, Stars 7-6. And Alutimu 7-7 now means that, as you can see, I believe tiebreaker is taken into account there. So Stars, although on the same wins, is winning on tiebreaker versus Alutimu, I believe. And then,
Yes.
I mean, it must be. There'd be no other reason to do it that way, right?
Well, I think it gets complicated because in tiebreaker 2, Alutimu is ahead. We'll get into it properly tomorrow. I think if there's like a 3-way tie, Alutimu goes through. If there's a 2-way tie, maybe not.
Okay, so anyway, those are what the standings look like, and as you can see, there's still stuff that can happen in Division A as well, looking pretty good. But we can check out the schedule for tomorrow, and it's going to be our final day of the league. There is the playoffs next week, but for now, we've got Glory versus Pathra going up as match number 1. See if Glory can take that top spot. Tyler versus Blood Trail going up if Tyler can just help even further secure a top 4 spot, and maybe, not higher as in first, but higher as in not 4th, I think is the important part there. Shaxi versus Samuel Zhao, Staz versus Frosty, finishing up finally with Dawn versus Blizzard.
Yeah, bit of a dour note to end today on in securing Patra's relegation out of Grandmasters, but it does mean tomorrow we can set our sights on slightly more optimistic games of Hearthstone, where it is players trying to get in to that top 4, and as you said, Glory getting first seed as well. Going to be very, very exciting stuff, as there has been Some pretty wild moments of Hearthstone here today. And I have to imagine it is not going to be slowing down tomorrow in our final day of League play.
Yeah, it really is. And as we said, tomorrow's going to be the last day in which we'll decide which 4 players from each division are going to be playing in the playoffs for the chance to get that one spot that's left in Asia Pacific to go to the global finals and join Surrender in representing the region, representing the Asia Pacific Grandmasters. Cannot wait. So make sure you tune in for that. But for now, Derek and myself are done, and we will see you tomorrow.